Hey there, my name is Casey Beckley, and maybe you know me as the guy you see running around the neighborhood a lot more than he needs to, or maybe you know me as your running coach. And I wanted to take a minute here and probably address one of the more common questions I get that comes into my inbox, and that is this question around nutrition. And I think, frankly, I probably get asked it a lot because there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of it we just kind of, it doesn't pass the sniff test. And so you come to someone like me or a physical therapist, chiropractor, doctor, whoever, and you ask for some help in figuring out, what are the kind of decisions I should make. And so people usually ask me because they're asking because of a performance related goal. They want to run a marathon, they want to do a 5K, they want to do a triathlon, and so they come to me as a coach and they say, hey, what do you recommend? And so I want to hit on like kind of why I have feel very comfortable aligning with a company like Shaklee, and just feel like they align with our family's values of having things that are going to be safe, that are going to really even be beyond organic, and that they have researched and they've tested, and that the studies outside of university studies by Nobel Prize people have been done to show that Shaklee is something that I can trust for my family, and why I'm okay recommending it to other people as well. But first, I guess maybe just a very brief bio about me. I hate talking about myself, but I realize just to let you know kind of where I'm coming from. I've probably been an athlete the better part of my life. Started swimming when I was about 10 years old, and then transitioned out of swimming, and then kind of around my university years, and then started running because I just got sick of the pool. But I've been running for about the last 20 years, and I'm preparing for my 19th marathon this year. I've done a handful of marathons right around the 3 hour mark, and I'd say probably the hardest one I ever did was the when I was 40 years old and I broke 3 hours for the first time. And that was a great day. But something that I've noticed on this side of 40 that I didn't realize before, maybe in my 20s and 30s in running marathons, is how much more important really things like recovery and nutrition play a part in being able to have continue to reach my goals as my body continues to age. If you're interested in finding out more about me though and the whole coaching thing, you can find me at forgeathletics.net. And if you're just kind of wondering, kind of a little bit more of where I'm coming from, or maybe other videos on, form technique, or even just how to think about the marathon, stuff like that. Back to the nutrition question though. And so when I begin to talk to an adult athlete in particular about nutrition, I realize that sometimes they're asking me for themselves, or maybe they're asking for a loved one, for a parent, or even for one of their children. And so I like to begin by talking with them about just kind of foundational nutrition principles, and just saying, hey, let's pay attention to what you're putting in your shopping cart, that there's going to be green vegetables, and there's going to be, good fruits, and there's going to be clean protein sources, and maybe some kind of dairy product that agrees with your stomach. So we want to have a well-rounded diet. But then also I realize I like to start with talking to the athletes about nutrition as well, because I just realized that a lot of us, we get into our sport because we're trying to outrun or outswim a bad diet. And so just kind of, that becomes kind of like a heart to heart, like, hey, let's cut out this, but then realizing too that it's very difficult, even for people that are concerned about having a good diet like myself, to be able to get everything that my body needs to do what I'm asking it to do. So I found that Shaklee's multivitamin, just as I've kind of looked into what they've done here with their vitamin strip, is just really, it's head and shoulders above anything else that's being done in the industry. And so what they have an omega, a multivitamin, a B and C complex, and then a probiotic. And that is a great thing that just kind of gets somebody's morning started right. But then also, in particular for an athlete, this is going to help just tissue repair on the cellular level. It's giving your tissues what it needs to be able to repair themselves, the vitamins and minerals they need. Vitamins and minerals are not found in meat. They're found in fruits and veggies. Well, if we don't eat enough veggies, or the right types of veggies, we're not giving our bodies what they need to repair. And so even if you already have a good diet, this multiplies that good diet. Maybe this is a good way to think about it. That if you already have your shopping cart full of good food, what if I said, hey, you could actually take a basket full of good food and put that into your diet on a daily basis, without a lot more extra effort, and now you're multiplying what you're already trying to do. And so this is where I begin with folks, and just saying, hey, if you're not taking care of your body, let's start there. And then this is kind of the finishing touches, so to speak, on the recommendations that I make. And so I'm just going to take you through some of the stuff that I personally use and have found very helpful. I might run through this fast. Try not to, but this is these are two things I'll take about an hour before my run, and this is I'll put the packaging there so you can see it. But this is a chew, and it dissolves in your mouth within about, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds or so. It has a very citrusy kind of flavor to it, but it's gonna be loaded with vitamin B and D, and then also a green coffee bean extract. The caffeine in this bad boy is really helpful to realize it's in there, because different studies have shown and proven that our brains will grow fatigued and tired prior to our bodies. And so if I want to kind of avoid that that mental fog that happens in the middle of, say, like an hour to 3 to 4 or 5 hour endurance challenge, but my stomach can't necessarily handle more food, this becomes very helpful, because I know that I'm putting something in my body that isn't going to be jacked up full of garbage, and that is actually, it's going to be organic, and again, it's going to be clean, it's going to be safe, it's going to be pure. I use that word pure, meaning that there's nothing illegal in here. I've met the Olympians who use this stuff, and they trust it because they know that they go through a battery of blood tests on a regular basis, and so they trust this stuff. I've used this personally in the midst, I mentioned an hour before my runs, and then also maybe in a marathon per se, in like say mile 10, and again around mile 19. And I found that to be very helpful. I don't really like eating stuff in the middle of my marathon, maybe earlier. Anyway, that's a different story, but I'll just say this is super helpful for that kind of brain fog, brain fatigue kind of thing. And it puts you in a good mood, because that's what caffeine does. So other thing here, about an hour before an event, this is for blood pressure, as the label says, but for the endurance athlete, the magic ingredient and the first ingredient on this list is going to be beetroot extract. Beetroots have been shown across the board again and again to help with your circulatory system. And why that is helpful, as someone who's maybe trying to run, or you're out on a triathlon all day, or you're on your bike all day, why this is helpful is because you know that as your circulatory system is kind of primed and being used well, it's going to get blood to where it needs to go. So it's going to get your brain, your heart, your muscles, etc. And what the studies have shown with beetroots in particular is that the less, let me see how to put this nicely. Maybe the less in shape you are, or the more out of shape you are, the more beetroot will have in terms of a positive impact on your performance. So for what they found in studies was that with elite athletes, there would still be a percentage of improved performance because they just, frankly, they were already so well conditioned. They didn't have as many gains to make, but they were still taking it because, hey, if they could get a percentage, they're going to get a percentage. And if I can get 5% improvement, I'm going to take 5% any day of the week. So let me think here. So I'll take you to, okay, so we got done with our run. If that's, or actually, no, here, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. If I'm still in the middle of my run, I'm going to take this here. And this is actually a product that has gotten me through probably about a half dozen marathons, several half marathons, and then countless long runs in the hot summer months in the Midwest. And this has, this is actually a formula that's been used on every NASA mission since 1993, believe it or not. And but why that is unique or important anyway is because what they've done is this isn't your Tang, so to speak. This is the real stuff, and this is also the stuff that that Olympian endurance athletes will use as well, and that I have found to be very effective because there are probably two kind of I don't know, just ingredients in here that I just really appreciate. One is that there are some sources of sugar in here, and I know that can be, should I have sugar? It's like, well, if it's not high fructose corn syrup, which this is not in there, which if you look at the back of the labels of most of your Gatorades, Powerades, etc., you will see high fructose corn syrup as the #1 ingredient. I don't want to put that in my kid's body. I don't want to put that in my body because I know what's going to happen, especially if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic. It's going to spike your it's going to spike, not your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and send you crashing. I've actually have diabetics use this. I shouldn't make medical claims. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just telling you what I've seen in terms of athletes, because this has a low glycemic index as well. So it doesn't have the ups and downs and the crashes because it has the sugar, but then it also has a corn-based carbohydrate in it called maltodextrin. Now, if you Google maltodextrin, if you can spell it, into your computer, what you'll find is that there's a whole bunch of it that is just made, and it's like garbage filler stuff. And so as I've talked to the folks that made this, they have gone through great care and concern to make sure that as they put the Shaklee name on this, that is actually, they have created it, that this isn't the garbage stuff that's out there that's being used as filler for animal food or whatever. That this is actually, they've put this in, and they've packaged it, and they've created it in such a way that as an athlete, I can take this and it's not going to jack up my GI system in the middle of an event, a goal race. Actually, one of my first experiences with this was I was running in the Boston Marathon, and kind of lined up with all those people in that 3-hour range, and we're all running our marathon together. And what I started noticing as the race went on was that there's something I never see happen. It was a 70-degree hot day, and that kind of that speed range, nobody ever walks. Everyone's trying to pass each other, getting around, and it's very competitive and kind of around that speed and that range in the marathon. And I saw people walking at the Boston Marathon. And then later in the race, I saw people literally laying in the curb with cramped up muscles because they're dehydrated. And I carried this in my hand, in my running bottle, the entire way. And my wife gave me another one at mile 18 to help me keep going. And so since then, I have been a believer. Before that race, Karen was humbly trying to talk me into using Shaklee. I'm like, I got it figured out, and I know what I'm doing with my nutrition. She's like, I don't know, Casey. It looks like there's a few dozen Olympians that might beg to differ, and they have about 138 more Olympic medals than you do. Maybe you ought to look at it. And so I slowed down. I looked at it, and so that was kind of definitely my conversion moment as an athlete, when I was just noticing, like, wow, I don't look like those people on the ground right now. And so this is something I wholeheartedly recommend and appreciate from the scientists and the doctors over at Shaklee for making that. So you're done with your run, and now if you have been around the block a few times, you know that it's important for your recovery to have a 4-to-1 carb to protein ratio as an endurance athlete when you are trying to recover. Now, this product in particular, because it has that ratio of 4 carbs to protein. Shaklee makes another one that has no carbs in it. Also, it's just protein. But this has your amino acids, your protein, and then also has basically it's going to revitalize those glycogen stores that we all deplete. That's your energy, that's your sugars that is readily available to your body, and so that gets depleted in the middle of an endurance event. And so this will give them this will up your glycogen storage again, and then also begin the muscle repair that's needed after a run. This is really super helpful for me. If you're like me, after you get done with something that is a little bit harder, your stomach does not want to eat, but I know I need something in my system, and so I'll do this as kind of a first bout of like, okay, I want to start recovering. I just did a 15-20 mile run, and now I need to start recovering, and I'll have this with some water, some almond milk, whatever I can handle, and maybe an hour or so later I'll have some food when I'm ready to eat something. So this has been I literally have drank this, and it feels like just like I can feel just my body recovering as I'm taking it. I'm sure that's not scientifically proven. I'm just telling you how I feel when I take it. But one of my other favorite things that I just came across, because it's brand new from the folks at Shaklee, and this is called PM Recovery. Love this. Type A personality, it's self-admitted, so I have a hard time sleeping. And so what this has in it, it actually has a naturally based kind of a sleep aid in it, and then also has a herbal natural pain relief complex in it as well. And then it also has, if I can say this, tart cherry extract in it as well. Try saying that fast 10 times. Tart cherry extract. That also it's another thing that's been shown to help with muscle recovery, in particular people that struggle with DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. You struggle with it if you get up the day or 2 days even after an activity and you're still limping around, you're still feeling tight, you're still feeling sore. That is DOMS, folks. And so what I've noticed in just in the last 10 days that I've begun to use this and take 2 of these before I go to bed, is that I'm ready to go back at another hard workout sooner than I would otherwise. Or I'm able to go back and practice easier paces than I would have otherwise. And the reason this is important is because instead of going out for a run the day after a hard workout and limping through that run, I do that run and I'm not sore, and I'm actually practicing better form, and I'm not limping through it. So I'm my practice quality has gone up. So it's not just that it decreases soreness, but as an athlete, I can go through the range of motion that I should be able to, and I'm not hindered by muscle soreness. So this is actually, it's more than just sleep and recovery. This is a performance booster right here. Let me see. So I'm gonna just talk about this one here really quick. This is Defend and Resist, and this, doesn't look like it's from the performance line. It's not. But if you have been around the block a few times, you know that the one of the things that happens with athletes is that when that big contest comes up, we tend to get colds and flus. And so I will take this. I'll take one of these, maybe two, for about a week to 2 weeks prior to my big goal event, to kind of offset that thing that just no one really knows why it happens, but it happens very frequently, particularly amongst endurance athletes. They'll just catch a cold about a week or two out, and there's a lot of theories about why that happens. But as I've taken this, I've noticed that it hasn't happened in the last couple of years. I've begun doing that process. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope this helped answer a lot of the questions you have, for you, maybe for your kids. You're shuttling them out to the soccer, you got all day marathon soccer match happening, and you can feel confident that what you're putting in their body is something that's going to be organic, it's going to be safe, it's actually going to be tested by people that have your best interests in mind. I've met them, I've talked to them, I know that they do. And again, if you're interested in finding out more about me, I'm at forgeathletics.net. And thanks for hanging out today, and we'll see you later.